Hello viewers, we're back for the second half of the day for our 2016 mock convention. Zach Arslan has some coverage of what has already gone on throughout the day.
On day one of the simulated presidential convention, North Penn students began an educational journey kicked off with a speech by political consultant and speechwriter Wendy Melcher.
We need to look at issues and think, how does it affect America as a whole and the world? It's a global economy.
And another speech by Principal Todd Bauer.
To welcome everyone, and I said to the students that I'm hoping for a unpredictable, realistic, and relevant experience for them.
And definitely social studies teacher and event coordinator Mr. Haley had a lot to offer in regards to the convention and political process.
Well, high school students are at that age where they're going to start developing their ideas, their beliefs, and some of that will involve politics. So an event like this gives them a hands-on opportunity to learn how it works and learn how they can be more engaged in politics and be a more responsible, informed, and active citizen. So we try to do that in all the classes in the building with hands-on exercises. This is just a hands-on exercise on steroids.
And it was encouraging to see student leaders like J.T. Mosserat and Katie Solomon show their enthusiasm.
Really missed out. This is something that you will use for your entire life. And if you have any opinions on where America should go, if you want to be a good citizen, then you should be involved with this.
I think it's like the stigma that kids shouldn't get involved is something that has to go. Like, getting involved can be fun and rewarding, and there's so much more to high school than just coming to school and sitting through your classes.
Reporting for North Penn Television, I'm Zach Arslan.
Time to throw it back down to the floor as our discussions continue about the different planks going on with the millennial generation.
Safe usages of gun. There's no reason that people that use this, there's no reason to restrict the Second Amendment right of people that safely use guns. So, let's decide what to do about gun control. Let's go to mic 3.
Well, one point to consider is that no matter how much you restrict gun sales in the U.S., there are always ways to get them illegally, whether it be over from the border of Mexico or if it's from illegal vendors and smuggling them into the country. Criminals will be able to get guns no matter what.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to gun 2, or to mic 2.
I move that this motion be amended by striking out the ban on assault weapons. I believe that with thorough screening, we greatly reduce the necessity of this clause. In any instance in which an assault rifle is more destructive than, say, a handgun, a ban on assault rifles would only result in procurement through black markets, and I would much rather have records of who owns these, as well as an easier means of tracing the bullets to the rifles. Thank you.
Would anybody like to second this motion?
You can have further discussion and then vote on the amendment.
Would anybody like to further this discussion? Go ahead, Shush.
Just to add to his point, also, when a gun is on a black market, it's so much harder to get, and it's much more expensive. So you also need to keep that in mind when you're making these decisions.
Okay, let's move to mic 1.
Like the first girl said, you're going to get a gun anyway. If you really want one, you're going to get one, and we're just going to help the cartels with their business. Also, something that all the school shootings had in common were that they all had mental health issues, so maybe we need to look at the mental health in this country.
Thank you. Let's move to mic 4.
I think that gun control is needed, but not just over the top. Personally, I shoot guns from time to time, just going hunting with my dad and with family, just because it's nice to at least bond with my family and just not go out so I can try to harm anybody. I'm trying to do it in a protected area that, like, low risk of any injury for anyone, because there's nobody near, and trying to be protective against the wildlife and not trying to, like, harm a bunch of people and trying to endanger anything. Just trying to control the guns as in who gets it, not about the guns itself.
Okay, thanks. Let's move to mic 5.
I just want to say, like, people kill people, not guns. So whatever we do won't do no harm. Like, we can't, like, keep guns away. They'll find other ways to get them. They'll go to Mexico, go to Philly on the black market. Doesn't matter. someone's gonna die. All right?
All right, thank you. Let's go to mic 3.
Okay, so there's a lot of people that need guns in their lives because there's still people in America that hunt to get food for their families. So obviously there's people that still need guns, but I think that we need more education programs on the dangers of using firearms, and we need tighter controls on the loopholes which people can use illegally to get firearms, and also that background checks, while they can sort of be helpful, I think that we still should use them, as in we can prevent against mentally ill people from acquiring firearms.
Thanks. Let's go to mic 2.
On the subject of guns from the black market, they are actually easier to get and cheaper to get. They can run handguns generally for about $70, far cheaper than what you would actually get in a gun store. So that, I have my sources. That is something very hard to control. We have many instances of this. Even San Bernardino, that gun was acquired illegally. So again, banning those high caliber guns won't really stop the criminals from getting them. But what we can agree on, liberal and conservative, is that background checks are helpful and that we should institute them.
Okay, thanks. So, seems like a lot of you want to do something to restrict guns. How do you guys feel about the gun show loophole? That's when people go to gun shows, they can buy a gun and there's no record of it. They bring their money, they buy a gun and walk out. How do you guys feel about that? Let's go to mic 1.
Well, I think obviously there's a bipartisan consensus that, or at least among some conservatives, that we obviously do need to restrict the gun show loophole. I also wanted to speak on the topic of guns acquired through the black market. Countries in Europe, like France, have extensive black markets for guns, and yet there is still significantly less gun violence because of the fact that they have universal background checks and restrictions on what kind of guns you can have.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to mic 4.
So, the legal definition of assault is harming another human being with the apparent intent to do so. The apparent ability to do so is important, the intent and ability. The only reason that matters is because back in 2008, our president was assaulted with shoes. Now, it was attempted assault, but what matters is it was an attempted assault. The apparent ability to do so was not seen. However, now we know that shoes can hurt people. So what matters here, to move on to my point, for the gun show loophole, absolutely. I'll absolutely try to close in on that, stricter background checks on all weapon sales, but to ban weapons sale in general or to restrict the types of weapons, I find ridiculous because anything can be a weapon used for assault. Assault is to hurt people with the ability to do so.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to mic 5.
Me personally, I feel that like guns don't kill people. People kill people. Like if there wasn't a man behind that trigger, you'd still be alive, pretty much. And about the gun shows, I feel like they should just stop that. Just cancel it all together and make it harder to get like assault rifles and other weapons. Like they should go through like deep advanced screenings instead of just having to sign their name, show ID, and that's it. And that's all I gotta say.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to mic 6.
I'd first like to ask, what is an assault weapon? The fact of the matter is it hasn't been clearly defined. Also, how do you propose that we ban assault weapons when it's an American's constitutional right to bear arms? I've also heard a lot of arguments that a militia is supposed to be the army or the police, but in 1908, the militia was defined as any able-bodied male or female between 17 and 45, and to breach the integrity of this act would be unconstitutional. As for banning high-capacity magazines, I don't know what that's going to do. Reloading a magazine can be done in less than a second. limiting their capacity really wouldn't affect anything. And as a closing statement, FBI statistics show that there have only been 3 illegal incidents involving a legally owned fully automatic firearm since 1934.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to Mike 3.
Back in reality, today, Obama mandated that there be background checks at gun shows. Thank God. Also, it's not about banning guns, it's about fixing the laws on guns. The Brady Law, for those of you, again, who don't know, excuses it from private sellers and at gun shows, which has now been changed, thank you, Obama. But if the background check does not come back within 3 days, they can sell them the gun. What's another day to save multiple lives? And also, the people at Columbine purchased their guns at a gun show, which is the first major shooting in America. So, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to Mike 2.
Okay, so about a background check, mental illness, you can't really quantify that. Who says who is mentally ill? If I have OCD, can I not get a gun? What's a mental illness? That's something to consider.
That's a good point. Let's move on to Mike number 1.
I move that we add to the platform a mandatory waiting period after purchasing a firearm. The point of this would be if someone were to legally purchase a gun with the intent of harming someone, that they would have a cool down period in which they could reconsider, which would lead to less deaths by guns.
How long would this waiting period be?
1 week.
Thank you. Let's go to Mike 4.
So, I would like to amend the platform by getting rid of the third, fourth, and fifth bullet point. The third one is banning assault weapons. Again, other people have said, what classifies a weapon as an assault weapon? You would have to classify that, and it's still not really your right to do that because of the Second Amendment shall not be infringed and stuff. The fourth one is mandatory life sentences for all straw purchasers. That shouldn't be a life sentence because you're putting these people, you're comparing them basically to murderers and rapists who get life sentences. It's not fair. They didn't actually do that bad of a crime that you can compare it to them. And the fifth one is banning the sale of high-capacity magazines. Clinton actually did that, and it was removed, I believe, sometime in the early 2000s, and there were significant studies that showed that there was little or no difference of banning the high-capacity magazines.
Thanks. Let's go to Mike 5.
I would like to make an amendment that there aren't background checks, but personality and psychology tests, because background checks don't really work. You can be a psychopath or a sociopath that wants to go and kill someone, but you would have a flawless background. If you did personality and psychological tests, then it would find out that whether or not you are mentally well enough to own and use a gun. Also, I'd like to amend that people that are on no-fly list can't buy or own guns. Since why would you want someone on a no-fly list to own a gun?
Thank you. So we've used up our 10 minutes allotted for this time. Is there a movement on the floor to extend an extra 5 minutes? Those in favor? Those against? All right, thank you. So. All those in favor of removing the ban on assault rifles from the platform? All in favor? Aye. All against? Nay. Huh?
One more time.
We're going to do that one more time. All in favor of removing this ban? Aye. All opposed? Nay. The nays have it. The next bullet point, mandatory life sentences. All those in favor of removing this point? All those against? Ayes have it. Banning the sale of all high-capacity magazines. All in favor? Those opposed? Nays have it. Mandatory waiting period of 1 week to buy a firearm. All in favor? All those opposed? That would be the nays. All right, thank you. That's good for that one. Yep. Actually, this.
Well, it looks like we had some pretty close discussion with that plank. People really were pretty evenly divided on whether they wanted to ban the guns or keep the guns, and then the whole gun show loophole with wanting stricter background checks. But as it seems that people kind of decided that they needed the background checks, but we're still pretty certain that they wanted to protect that Second Amendment to make sure you can own your own gun. Eric, did you see anything different out there on the floor?
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I thought it was interesting. I think this was the most split that we had, although it was a little bit more civil than I had expected. I thought it was interesting the wait period that was added on to the motion, but they did not think that the mandatory life sentences was a good idea. But I think that was a very interesting segment right there, and I'm looking forward to see where we go from here.
I agree. I think that things turned out a little bit differently than we all had expected, seeing as our previous conversations were filled with a little bit more passion, a little bit more intensity. Who knows, maybe it's the end of the day or things like that. But, you know, we have a lot of other planks to discuss, so a lot of other topics to get going with. So we're going to throw it back to the podium to see what's going on.
Favorite place in the world. Now, we also had 2 Muslim shooters recently kill 14 civilians and injure 24 other people in San Bernardino. And though God bless the families of the victims as well. I mean, I love San Bernardino. It's my favorite place in the world. So, there are people telling us that we should allow 10,000 potential ISIS sympathizers into our country. Should we? Should we ban Muslims from entering the U.S.? Mike 3.
Our country is, and I know you've probably heard this argument a lot, is based off of immigration. Everybody of whom came here, minus the Native Americans, were immigrants. And in our Constitution, we state that anybody who wants to come to this country and go through legal processes to do so has every right. To deny a specific group of people goes against every value as America, every value that us as America has. And if you're like me, it's sickening to think that as a people, that our politicians can even suggest that we should keep a whole group of people from coming over to our country. And now, I know, they're Muslim, they're from the Middle East. That doesn't mean that they are terrorists. My grandmother, my teta, grandmother in Arabic was from Egypt. Do I look like a terrorist to you? She was a devout Christian, not a Muslim, but that doesn't mean anything. No matter what we say here, we know nothing about the people overseas. And we can only state that our people are based off of immigration, and to deny people to come over to this country to seek a better life is to deny everybody all over the world the right to do so. So I just like to keep in mind that immigrants are just as important as people that already live here.
Yeah, pretty good. Number 2. Mike 2.
Is this on? Okay. Okay. All right, so the problem with banning Muslims is that you don't know who they really are or where they're coming from. Muslims aren't really all that terrible, you know. Okay. I mean, you don't know who these people are. You don't know what they believe in. So you can't just ban a whole bunch of them. I mean, they're just people trying to get away from violence and war and corruption, trying to seek a better life.
Okay. Mike 1.
Just a sort of different perspective here. We do actually have the right to ban certain countries. There are people from immigrating here. Jimmy Carter used it in the 70s with Iran. But to ban an entire religion, especially Islam, which is, what is it now, the second biggest religion in the world, to ban an entire religion of that scope to coming into America is just ignorance. So, yeah.
Okay. Mike 4.
This policy that we should ban Muslims from entering the U.S. as refugees and how popular the support for this has become, I'm ashamed to be an American right now. We are a country built on the backs of immigrants. My grandfather's grandfather came here from Slovakia. He was a serf. He did not own his land. He didn't get to do anything but work his butt off. And if his landowner didn't like it, that sucks to be you. He came here so that he could have some better life. Who are we to tell them that they are not allowed in a country that has been as welcoming in its past as it has? We were built on building a better life. The promise that the streets were paved in gold, you could make yourself anything you wanted to be if you just believed, where has that gone? Who are we to tell people that they can't come here because we've become so narrow-minded that we believe that just because a couple people from a very small group of a relatively massive group of very peaceful people does something bad. That would be like...
we're good. Okay, next Mike, Mike 2. Thank you.
Oh, Mike 2. Oh, sorry. Since the United States is one of the most powerful, richest, and most developed countries in the world, I feel like we have a responsibility to refugees to help them when they are in need. They are running from the same thing we are fearing right now. They're running from ISIS. They're running from terrorists. I mean, the most ISIS has hurt more Muslims than anyone in the world. And as a Muslim, since I am a Muslim, it is extremely offensive to me that people can suggest banning an entire religion based on the actions of a few. And it's very offensive. And I mean, America was founded on the backs of immigrants, and it is just going against the Constitution and just going against American values to ban an entire group of people because of their views.
Okay, thank you. Mike 6.
With the belief that we should ban all Muslims from entering America, with that gaining traction just further proves how little we've actually came. We brought ourselves into the world as the free world, as hypocritically as we did that. But everyone wants to act like there's no dark sides to other religions, like Christians haven't done anything. To me, there's just a veil of this religious, almost like this blindness, this racism. The media has portrayed the Middle East and everyone with the head wrap on as a terrorist. What's a terrorist to you? Someone who has a beard and tan skin? You know what I mean? You have a higher probability of getting killed by your next door neighbor than a terrorist. You don't gotta believe everything you hear. You know what I mean?
You gotta call for a vote.
Okay.
Do we want to ban? And then you want to move to the order.
So Mike 5. Mike 5.
ISIS and any other terrorist group that claim to be Muslim are not. I remember my friend telling me, who is Muslim, that their rules of war are that you are not allowed to kill innocents. And look how many innocent people they killed. I don't think they killed anyone that could be remotely considered guilty. I used to live in a community that was mostly refugees and immigrants from the Middle East. And not one of those people are terrorists. To be honest, the white people acted more like terrorists than any Muslim ever did.
Okay, so it looks like that the rest of you want to have Muslims entering the U.S. So, we're going to do a vote. So, all in favor of keeping Muslims entering the U.S., say aye. Aye. Okay. All opposed, say nay. Okay. Yay it is.
I'll talk about the wall, amnesty.
Okay. Yeah. So now we're going to go on to a different kind of immigrant. We're going to go talk about the illegal immigrants. So folks, I want you to know a fact here. So there are more illegal immigrants coming from Mexico in the U.S. Fewer are being asked to leave, and they spread across the workforce from construction and manufacturing to leisure and hospitality and retail. I want to say they took our jobs. But, you know, there's different opinions. So, according to Fox News, California has the highest rate of poverty in the nation. That's nearly 1 in 4 people in the state, about 9 million people in California. And some of them are also under social welfare programs that are not going to legal citizens here. So, should we grant amnesty to any illegal immigrant who has not violated federal laws since coming into the country? So let's go with Mike 3.
I don't believe they should be granted amnesty necessarily because they haven't gone through the immigration process like everyone else. I do believe, however, that it should be made easier for Mexican people to come and work in this country because there are certain jobs that the American people cannot do or will not fill.
Okay, thank you. Mike 2.
First of all, if a person who can't even speak English takes your job, obviously you're not very qualified yourself, and that is kind of on you. And secondly, as I am an immigrant, I moved here from Bangladesh when I was 8 years old. It's extremely expensive, and it's a very long process, and I can sympathize with illegal immigrants as, I mean, they have no other options as their country is ravaged with cartels and just violence, and they came here to America for a better life. I don't agree they should come here illegally, but it's extremely expensive to come here legally, and it should be made easier for them to come here. And I do agree they should be given amnesty if they have been productive and they've been following the laws and they continue to do so. I do agree they should pay a fine for breaking the law, but I don't think they should be deported back to the country they came from.
Okay, thank you. Mike 1.
Illegal Mexican immigrants make up approximately 2% of the U.S. population and commit 17% of all drug-related crime and 21% of all violence related to drugs. So, I mean, that's a solid 80% that aren't committing crimes, but that's 20% of all drug-related crime. And I just think that's a really high number for such a small part of the population to be committing, to be allowing those kind of people in our country.
Thank you. Mike 4.
So I think that if you're an illegal immigrant living in the United States and you're found that you're illegal, you should go under a citizenship test so that you can at least try to become a citizen. And if you fail, you should be deported because you obviously don't know enough about the country to want to live here. You just want more money. And also about the jobs, a lot of people hire immigrants or illegal immigrants because they don't have to pay taxes because they're not actual citizens, so they don't have to pay taxes on them. Also, they're cheaper labor because Americans would want more and Mexicans just want money to send back down to the country, as I know from people that I know.
Okay, thank you. Mike 5.
If these people are willing to injure themselves severely to come to this country by jumping over the walls and by climbing the fences and working in these crappy jobs that don't pay well and don't get any benefits, then why aren't they allowed to be citizens of this country? I mean, like what the person that Mike 2 said before, it's extremely expensive to legally come here. So at a certain point, it just amnesty should be given to illegal immigrants and then make regulations for legally coming into this country easier to crap, I can't remember the word, but to like meet the requirements.
Okay, thank you. Mike 6.
Calling all Mexicans, well, just people of the Latino race is just completely offensive just to call them Mexican. And I feel like you can't really just classify all the people just who come here and do all these laborious jobs and just to like put themselves through so much danger, just like calling them criminals, rapists, and all that. Wanting to build a wall and wanting them to pay for everything is just completely ridiculous. I don't believe in that. Being son of two Mexican people, that's completely offensive to me. Like, it's like you're calling my parents like criminals and all that stuff. Like, it's hurtful.
Thank you. Mike 3.
As we said before, this nation it's been built on the backs of immigrants. And I believe that immigration is a two-way street. If you're willing to become a citizen, you're going to be following the laws and becoming legally a citizen. However, those who are here, who are already working, to deny them citizenship, you'd have to wonder, why should we? When they're here working, doesn't it seem kind of bizarre that these corporations, well, kind of obvious that they want to keep them without rights, without being citizens, to get the cheap labor. So I really think that we need to give them citizenship. They deserve it in order to get the benefits.
Okay, thank you. So, we're going to do a vote here. Should the U.S. grant amnesty to any illegal immigrant who has not violated any federal laws since coming into the country? All for aye. All for nay? Nay. Okay. Should we extend it 5 more minutes? No. Okay. Okay. So, let's do that again then. Okay. All for aye? Aye. All for nay? Nay. I'm kind of hearing a little bit of more nay.
One more time.
Should the U.S. grant amnesty to any illegal immigrant who has not violated federal laws since coming into the country? Okay. Aye, it is. Or, God. I need to eat. Like, I'm already losing my accent at this point. Okay. Off. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we're going to tackle another controversial issue. We've got about 20 minutes left.
Well, it looks like the Millennial Party came together over the discussion of letting Muslims enter the country and stay here and become citizens in the U.S. And it really seemed like at the end they came together and it was overwhelmingly yes. And as a party in general, they're really embracing free opportunity and finding better conditions. And as for the discussion about Mexicans coming in across the border, although there's a lot of debate over whether they should or whether they shouldn't, the way that they ended was kind of leaning towards no, even though during the debate they were kind of leaning towards yes. They felt like people should be given opportunities. A couple of people even found it offensive that we would even suggest building a wall or not letting them in. Eric, did you feel that same kind of vibe out on the floor?
The existence of climate change. The Millennial Party believes in a carbon tax
vote for the complete amnesty, but I thought it was more because of the fact that most of the people were looking for a motion for kind of finding some middle ground, not complete amnesty for everyone, maybe giving them a little bit more of a slap on the wrist or something for coming in illegally. But I think people did understand, yes, that it's a hard life out there, and it's hard to come here, but it's a better life here than it is over there. So I think that was understood, but I don't think the proposed solution was something that everyone was readily to embrace.
It seemed like there was a divide with the Millennial Party, but at this point we're going to throw it back to the podium for our next plank discussion.
Only comes up in political elections is extremely disconcerting. We live in a world where by the time it's 2050, we won't be able to go to China because China will have destroyed itself. We live in a world where our grandchildren won't be able to breathe without a face mask because we are destroying the ozone. We are destroying our atmosphere, and we're doing nothing about it. The only people that seem to be able to raise the issue are these politicians, and half of them don't even believe in it. Climate change is a reality and it's happening right now. And without action that happens this instant, we're all going to die. And I'm not saying that to, I'm absolutely saying that to scare you, because it's something that we can take control of and something that will definitely happen to us if nothing is done.
Okay, thank you. Mike 2.
I know all you people would think all the other issues are more important than this. But this problem is real, and it's pressing our generation and future generations ahead. As you can see from this winter, our climate is changing. If we continue what we are going to do to the environment, which is nothing, there will no longer be predictable seasons. We need to take the emissions down of greenhouse gases. Also, we need to be able to accept that we have done something wrong and make it better. This Earth can last a long time, only if we make an effort to.
Okay, thank you. Can we just quiet down a little with the background noise? It can be hard to hear the people at the microphones. Thank you. Microphone 1.
I would like to say that there are certain things Republicans and Democrats can agree on and do which benefit both sides. Considering that solar and wind energies are so inefficient, it really costs us way too much money. However, something that you would get conservatives into is if we were to boost industries such as nuclear energy, which are highly efficient. That would decrease carbon emissions almost tenfold, at least. That is one way you could effectively decrease carbon emissions, and that's better than what the EU does. The EU has this plan where they are attempting to decrease climate change, and it costs them $250 billion a year. By the end of the century, that's going to cost them something around $20 trillion, and it will only have decreased the global temperature by 0.5% when the rise is supposedly at 2%. It doesn't do much. What we need to do is start working together with things we both agree on, and I think nuclear energy is a good area to start on that.
Thank you. Microphone number 4.
Okay, Nathaniel, I do have one thing to say about that. While it is very, very true that solar and wind are very inefficient, one of the main reasons is because big oil companies hold a lot of the patents on battery technology. So as long as we have a cheap source of oil, there's no incentive for battery technology to get any better. And the only way that we are going to keep this planet livable is by creating a comprehensive plan to combat climate change. And we're already at the point of we've passed the point of no return. There's no way that we can fully reverse it. We're stuck with it. We screwed ourselves over, and we need to learn from it. We can't keep this ignorance going and kill ourselves.
Thank you. Okay, microphone 6.
So, I find it kind of ridiculous that half of the politicians that we've elected don't believe in science. I mean, it's been continually proved that climate change is real and that it's an issue. And yet these people that we pay our tax dollars to have denied science. It's like saying, you know, my shirt doesn't have blue on it just because it doesn't work with your funders. And that comes down to what someone mentioned earlier, is that big oil holds a lot of power in this company. There's a lot of super PACs run by oil companies, and they have consistently struck down any effort to put research into clean, renewable energy. And I think that's ridiculous.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
Okay, I mean, back on the topic of cost, I think the issue here is, I mean, sure, it might cost a lot. However, I mean, we kind of have to pay for it because, think about it, if we were to destroy a building, we would have to pay for our destruction. Well, this is the planet that we're talking about here. And the fact that we've done so much damage to it, we have to pay for it. We have to compensate for our actions. Sorry. And I do think that we did cause a lot of trouble with the environment. I think we ourselves have created irreversible changes in our climate, and we have to find greener power sources, even if it means costing a lot, because it's necessary for our survival.
Okay, thank you. We're going to call a vote now. So all of those in favor of expanding nuclear energy, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. To those who support a carbon tax, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Remaining keeping our signature on the newest climate deal. Those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes.
The nays.
Did they? Okay, nays.
I think the ayes ran out of gas.
And offering federal subsidies for companies that move towards clean energy. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Well, it seemed like this issue kind of jumped all over the place, from a new concept that some hadn't heard of animal agriculture, to nuclear energy and things like that. But when we went to actually take the vote for the nuclear energy, it was probably the most divided I've seen it yet, with not really a clear say whether the yes or the no really took the cake, so to speak, about the issue. But this plank didn't seem to really strike as much of a passion between the students, whether it's maybe just not their biggest concern, or maybe they're just not as knowledgeable about it. Eric, how did you feel the vibe was out there and the different voting?
Yeah, I think the lack of passion was not necessarily a lack of caring. I think it was just that there was no division down here. Everyone really wanted the same thing. Everyone realizes that there is a problem when we have to tackle it. The only divisions came in what we needed to do to fix those problems. And I think it's interesting that all the ideas that were submitted actually stayed, and also they expanded on the nuclear energy thing. So I think it's interesting that they wanted to take a stand, and it wasn't even like a big deal. It was this is something we have to do. It's on the platform, and we need to do it. And it's funny that on Capitol Hill it is a big problem right now, but here with our generation it's not.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I can see the taxes and such on the carbon were kind of popular between the millennials. But we're going to throw it back to the podium.
All right, let me just find the page. I'm so sorry. All right, so the United States has finally joined the rest of the world in protecting the civil rights of our community, specifically our right to marry. While the LGBT community has a successful year in 2015 in expanding the civil rights for all Americans, including the LGBT community, there are still problems faced by our community today. Also, some conservative states are trying to deny LGBT these simple rights of getting married under the basis of religious liberty. What do you guys think on that? Microphone 3.
So if the kid next to you in class, say he's gay, transgender, lesbian, who are you to care? That's not your life. Live your own life. What they want to do is their choice. You don't have a say in what they can do. So why bother? Also, the other thing is, the thing with transgender is, when everyone says transgender, the first thing everyone thinks is Caitlyn Jenner. Well, Caitlyn Jenner has it easy. The people that are having the issues are the people that are transgender who are refused a job because they're transgender and how they identify. So why are we caring about people are name-calling Caitlyn Jenner because of her choices? Well, that's bad and all, but some people can't live because of their choices and what they identify as. So why do we care about that?
So what seems to be the big argument is the religion and the Bible. But keep in mind, in the Bible, it mentions homosexuality twice. While it mentions no shaving, 7 times. Yet a lot of times you see these clean-shaven politicians and people clean-shaven speaking about how the Bible says no gay marriage. Mike 4. And they eat pork and shrimp and shellfish and all that. But Mike 4.
Okay, so at the beginning of 2015, trans women of color, which means basically men who became women and they're not white, were being killed at a rate of 1 per day. So that was just for like the first month. So far in 2015, at least 30 trans women were killed just because they were trans. That's a little ridiculous, don't you think? In fact, about 50% of trans people attempt suicide. It's ridiculous that they're driven to suicide because of harassment and stuff like that from other people that aren't trans and don't understand it.
All right, microphone 5.
As nice as it is that there's gay marriage, it still literally does nothing because of all the bigotry and homophobia in this country. Transgender, on the other hand, North Penn is lucky because it's such an accepting school towards this topic. I mean, I remember hearing rumors that in APOD there's a bathroom for non-gender conforming students. But most of the country, what the girl at my 4 said is true. There's so many transgender kids that are being bullied or killed or committing suicide because their gender is different than their genitals. Like, seriously. People are being killed over that. There need to be, like, stricter laws over murder because the police aren't enforcing it. They don't care if someone's killed if they're transgender or any part of the LGBT community.
All right, thank you very much. I'm just curious, is anybody at any mic against it? So maybe we could hear a different side of the argument? All right, microphone 2.
On your point about the nose shaving and the homosexuality in the Bible, I'm going to try and say this as nicely as I can. Read through the context of both of those, because the shaving does not apply to us anymore. That was a law given to Israel. Like
So was
4,000
homosexuality.
years ago. That's not, that like shellfish does not apply to Christians anymore. But you would be right in saying yes to Christians, that is wrong. And that is why many Christian bakeries specifically would not be willing to provide wedding services to gay people. Don't get it wrong here. It's not that they hate them. In fact, it's more that the Christians love the people. They know that it's wrong and they would not be willing to compromise their beliefs, and especially if their beliefs are true, that it is wrong, they would not be willing to assist these people in doing that. So it's really not bigotry when it comes to that. However, when it comes to general secular employment, no discrimination there. You shouldn't.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Very good point. Mike 6.
I don't understand how it's legal for a 20-year-old to marry some 90-year-old and collect her insurance money, but it's not legal for a girl to marry a girl or something like that. Like, it's 2016. Like, what's up with this? Like, we're all, like, half the people in the school are lesbian or gay or bisexual. Like, and all of a sudden it's not legal? Like, what's up with this?
Kind of pushing it. Order, guys, order in the political convention. Mike 3.
Hello? All right, this is on. In terms of like Christianity and whatnot, a lot of Catholics believe birth control is wrong, but that's still legal. It shouldn't matter what your religious beliefs are, just let people do what they want. And much like stupid old things, like old people are still racist. Some people are still homophobic, even though that's winning. LGBT is going to win. Now, do you want the winning side? Are you going to be on the winning side, or are you going to be on the losing side?
I like to win.
That's up to you. We need an equal rights amendment.
Good job. Mike 1. Mike 1. Mike 2.
Mike 2?
Yeah. All right, Mike 1. You.
This is Okay, it wasn't working. I'd like to propose an amendment. No, there is no mandatory sexual education program for any school in the United States. That's left up to the states and the schools themselves. What I'd like to propose is not only a mandatory sexual education program, but in that program to educate every single one of the people that doesn't know what any of these sexualities or genders are, and give them the opportunity to either learn about them, because the 6.8% of American adults identify as gay, lesbian, or bisexual, and that is a lot of people. And the fact that again half the people in here don't know what all the genders or sexualities are is quite disturbing, because look around you. Somebody sitting next to you, there's a high chance that they're LGBT, and that is not, you cannot do anything about that. So my amendment is to provide. I'm not calling you gay. Don't worry about it.
All right.
My amendment is to provide a mandatory sexual education program that includes the education of all LGBT aspects.
All right. Thank you very much. Mike 2.
All right, so I find it very funny that amongst the conservatives who oppose gay marriage and written equality with LGBT people, they talk a lot about getting the government out of people's lives, which is fair if that's how you view things, but how is it getting the government out of people's lives if you're telling them who they can and cannot marry? I just find that outrageous personally, and so that's all I really have to say about that.
So would you propose an amendment saying that the government should stay out of marital affairs and make that a private industry?
Yes.
All right. Mike 5. Mike 5.
Why can't we be happy? Why do we live in a world that's so down? Every day, at least 3 times a day, from random people, from people I know, people call me gay, people think I'm gay. But you wanna know something funny? You wanna know something that's awesome? I don't take that to offense. It's not offensive at all. They have just the amount of right as straight people do. And I think it's disrespectful, but that's anyone's opinion. But, people are gonna think what they're gonna think, but no matter what, people love each other, and that's the best gift you can give someone.
All right, guys, sorry, but we're gonna have to go to a vote now. All in favor of trying to impose a mandatory sex education throughout the nation, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. Nays or ayes? Ayes have it. All those in favor of getting the government out of the marital industry and making that a private sector, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Nay. Ayes have it again. Those of you who think they should be more strict laws requiring LGBTs on employment, say aye. Those of you who those of you who think that they should be stricter laws to protect LGBT community against work discrimination, say aye. All in favor. Aye. Say nay if you oppose. Nay. Ayes have it. One more time. Lastly, all in favor of not allowing gay couples, all in favor of homosexual couples being able to adopt children, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
Good job, Jason. All right, folks, we're approaching the dismissal point. I know for some of you it's been an exciting day.
Well, this time around, we really only heard a couple dwindling nays when it came to our discussion about LGBT, and we really saw strong support for protecting them in our society and making sure that they had equal rights and have access to adoptions and such. Eric, how did you feel like it was down there?
It was exactly what it was. I also think that this is, as it was in the 60s with racial relations in this country, I think the civil rights battle for our generation is going to be this. And I think because we are the Millennial Party and we're all millennials here, we're all young people, we're all high school students, I think it's no surprise that there was almost unanimous support for all of these things and being more embracing as a nation and as a community.
It was great to see the party unite like that over the plank. I'm going to throw it to Mr. Haley.
Off the floor. So pick the packets up, take them home with you, bring them back tomorrow. In that packet, you've got summaries of all possible candidates. Give it some thought. Do not leave your trash behind. If you have trash, there's trash cans in the back. Just relax. We will dismiss in another couple of minutes. So clean up. And I'll let you go in a couple of minutes. Yes.
Well, today was a great first day of our 2016 mock convention. We really saw a lot of great discussions, a lot of new and different opinions, and we really saw the party come together over some issues. Maddie, how did you feel today went as a whole?
Thanks, Maddie. I totally agree with you. I thought today was an incredible day for the North Penn student body. We talked about some up-and-coming topics in the real world, including gun control, immigration, climate change. It's great to see the student body actually taking charge and showing what they believe in. It's a great time for students who typically don't expand their views to say, this is what I believe in, and this is why you should support me. It'll be interesting tomorrow to see how all the platforms work out and as we go to decide our delegate. I think that tomorrow is going to be filled with more interviews and a great speech. And I think that we're on the right track to a successful day and a great 2016 simulated mock convention.
Thanks, Maddie. It was so great hearing everyone's different opinions and hearing from students that I even have classes with that I would have never known how strongly they feel about different topics. And I really think that we got a good idea of how today went from the studio. We really got the vibe. But Eric, being down there on the floor, being in the midst of all of it, the chaos, the opinions, the talks, the politics, how do you think today went?
I think today went really well. I was impressed by how much passion everyone brought to things. I think we saw a core group of kids who were willing to go to the microphone and were passionate about the topics. But I also thought that there was, every time out there were a couple new faces staggering up to the microphone and they were willing to put themselves out there. And I thought that was great. And I thought there was a lot of good discussion and a lot of debate and people learning about all these ideas, that are going to affect us. And I think it's great to see that, we as millennials are actually, engaged in what's going on around us and the world around us. And, we have all of this knowledge at our fingertips and, we just need to put ourselves out there and actually, engage and take part in this process.
Thanks, Eric. It was really great having you out there on the floor that we could talk with and you could really see what was going on. And this 2016 mock convention is really a brand new type of vibe for North Penn this year with the Millennial Party. It really allowed us to bring in different ideas and different candidates. And instead of being just all towards one side, we got to explore some different viewpoints. And we'll see how it all pans out tomorrow with the party and how the platform continues to grow and change and amend itself as we start heading towards picking our candidate for president. Thank you for tuning in and watching us today as you had live coverage of our North Penn High School mock convention. We hope to see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.